It is impossible to lick your elbow. Busted. A crocodile can't stick its tongue out. A shrimp's heart is in its head. People say bless you when you sneeze because when you sneeze, your heart stops for a millisecond. In a study of 200,000 ostriches over a period of 80 years, no one reported a single case where an ostrich buried its head in the sand. It is physically impossible for pigs to look up into the sky. A pregnant goldfish is called a twit. Busted? More than 50% of the people in the world have never made or received a telephone call. Rats and horses can't vomit. If you sneeze too hard, you can fracture a rib. If you try to suppress a sneeze, you can rupture a blood vessel in your head or neck and die. If you keep your eyes open by force when you sneeze, you might pop an eyeball out. Rats multiply so quickly that in 18 months, 2 rats could have over 1 million descendants. Wearing headphones for just an hour will increase the bacteria in your ear by 700 times. In every episode of Seinfeld there is a Superman somewhere. The cigarette lighter was invented before the match. 35% of the people who use personal ads for dating are already married. A duck's quack doesn't echo, and no one knows why. 23% of all photocopier faults worldwide are caused by people sitting on them and photocopying their butts. In the course of an average lifetime you will, while sleeping, eat 70 assorted insects and 10 spiders. Most lipstick contains fish scales. Like fingerprints, everyone's tongue print is different. Over 75% of people who read this will try to lick their elbow. A crocodile can't move its tongue and cannot chew. Its digestive juices are so strong that it can digest a steel nail. Money notes are not made from paper, they are made mostly from a special blend of cotton and linen. In 1932, when a shortage of cash occurred in Tenino, Washington, USA, notes were made out of wood for a brief period. The Grammy Awards were introduced to counter the threat of rock music. In the late 1950s, a group of record executives were alarmed by the explosive success of rock and roll, considering it a threat to quality music. Tea is said to have been discovered in 2737 BC by a Chinese emperor when some tea leaves accidentally blew into a pot of boiling water. The tea bag was introduced in 1908 by Thomas Sullivan of New York. Over the last 150 years the average height of people in industrialized nations has increased 10 centimeters, about 4 inches. In the 19th century, American men were the tallest in the world, averaging 1.71 meters, 5 feet 6 inches. Today, the average height for American men is 1.75 meters, 5 feet 7 inches, compared to 1.77, 5 feet 8 inches, for Swedes, and 1.78, 5'8.5, for the Dutch. The tallest nation in the world is the Watusis of Burundi. In 1955 the richest woman in the world was Mrs. Hetty Green Wilkes, who left an estate of $95 million in a will that was found in a tin box with 4 pieces of soap. Queen Elizabeth of Britain and Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands count under the 10 wealthiest women in the world. Joseph Niepce developed the world's first photographic image in 1827. Thomas Edison and W.K.L. Dixon introduced the film camera in 1894. But the first projection of an image on a screen was made by a German priest. In 1646, Athanasius Kircher used a candle or oil lamp to project hand-painted images onto a white screen. In 1935 a writer named Dudley Nichols refused to accept the Oscar for his movie The Informer because the Writers Guild was on strike against the movie studios. In 1970 George C. Scott refused the Best Actor Oscar for Patton. In 1972 Marlon Brando refused the Oscar for his role in The Godfather. The system of democracy was introduced 500 years ago in Athens, Greece. The oldest existing governing body operates in Althing in Iceland. It was established in 930 AD. A person can live without food for about a month, but only about a week without water. If the amount of water in your body is reduced by just 1%, you'll feel thirsty. If it's reduced by 10%, you'll die. According to a study by the Economic Research Service, 27% of all food production in Western nations ends up in garbage cans. Yet, 1,2 billion people are underfed, the same number of people who are overweight. Camels are called ships of the desert because of the way they move, not because of their transport capabilities. A dromedary camel has one hump and a Bactrian camel 2 humps. The humps are used as fat storage. Thus, an undernourished camel will not have a hump. In the Durango Desert, in Mexico, there's a creepy spot called the Zone of Silence. You can't pick up clear TV or radio signals. And locals say fireballs sometimes appear in the sky. Ethernet is a registered trademark of Xerox. Unix is a registered trademark of AT&T. Bill Gates' first business was Trafo Data, a company that created machines which recorded the number of cars passing a given point on a road. Uranus' orbital axis is tilted at 90 degrees. The final resting place for Dr. Eugene Shoemaker, the Moon. The famed U.S. Geological Survey astronomer, trained the Apollo astronauts about craters, but never made it into space. Mr. Shoemaker had wanted to be an astronaut but was rejected because of a medical problem. His ashes were placed on board the Lunar Prospector spacecraft before it was launched on January 6, 1998. NASA crashed the probe into a crater on the Moon in an attempt to learn if there is water on the Moon. Outside the USA, Ireland is the largest software-producing country in the world. The first fossilized specimen of Australopithecus afarensis was named Lucy after the paleontologist's favorite song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, by the Beatles. Figlet, an ASCII font converter program, stands for Frank, Ian and Glenn's air liters. Every human spent about half an hour as a single cell. Every year about 98% of atoms in your body are replaced. Hot water is heavier than cold. Plutonium, first weighed on August 20, 1942, by University of Chicago scientists Glenn Seaborg and his colleagues, was the first man-made element. If you went out into space, you would explode before you suffocated because there's no air pressure. The radioactive substance, Americanium-241, is used in many smoke detectors. The original IBM PCs, that had hard drives, referred to the hard drives as Winchester drives. This is due to the fact that the original Winchester drive had a model number of 3030. This is, of course, a Winchester firearm. Sound travels 15 times faster through steel than through the air. On average, half of all false teeth have some form of radioactivity. Only one satellite has ever been destroyed by a meteor, the European Space Agency's Olympus in 1993. Starch is used as a binder in the production of paper. It is the use of a starch coating that controls ink penetration when printing. Cheaper papers do not use as much starch, and this is why your elbows get black when you are leaning over your morning paper. Sterling silver is not pure silver. Because pure silver is too soft to be used in most tableware, it is mixed with copper in the proportion of 92.5% silver to 7.5% copper. A ball of glass will bounce higher than a ball of rubber. A ball of solid steel will bounce higher than one made entirely of glass. A chip of silicon a quarter-inch square has the capacity of the original 1949 ENIAC computer, which occupied a city block. An ordinary TNT bomb involves atomic reaction, and could be called an atomic bomb. What we call an A-bomb involves nuclear reactions and should be called a nuclear bomb. At a glance, the Celsius scale makes more sense than the Fahrenheit scale for temperature measuring. But its creator, Anders Celsius, was an oddball scientist. When he first developed his scale, he made freezing 100 degrees and boiling 0 degrees, or upside down. No one dared point this out to him, so fellow scientists waited until Celsius died to change the scale. At a jet plane's speed of 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles, per hour, the length of the plane becomes one atom shorter than its original length. The first full moon to occur on the winter solstice, December 22nd, commonly called the first day of winter, happened in 1999. Since a full moon on the winter solstice occurred in conjunction with the lunar perigee, point in the moon's orbit that is closest to Earth, the moon appeared about 14% larger than it does at apogee, the point in its elliptical orbit that is farthest from the Earth. Since the Earth is also several million miles closer to the Sun at that time of the year than in the summer, sunlight striking the moon was about 7% stronger, making it brighter. Also, this was the closest perigee of the moon of the year since the moon's orbit is constantly deforming. In places where the weather was clear and there was a snow cover, even car headlights were superfluous. According to security equipment specialists, security systems that utilize motion detectors won't function properly if walls and floors are too hot. When an infrared beam is used in a motion detector, it will pick up a person's body temperature of 98.6 degrees compared to the cooler walls and floor. If the room is too hot, the motion detector won't register a change in the radiated heat of that person's body when it enters the room and breaks the infrared beam. Your home safety might be compromised if you turn your air conditioning off or set the thermostat too high while on summer vacation. Western Electric successfully brought sound to motion pictures and introduced systems of mobile communications which culminated in the cellular telephone. On December 23, 1947, Bell Telephone Laboratories in Murray Hill, New Jersey, held a secret demonstration of the transistor which marked the foundation of modern electronics. The wick of a trick candle has small amounts of magnesium in them. When you light the candle, you are also lighting the magnesium. When someone tries to blow out the flame, the magnesium inside the wick continues to burn and, in just a split second, or 2 or 3, relights the wick. Ostriches are often not taken seriously. They can run faster than horses, and the males can roar like lions. Seals used for their fur get extremely sick when taken aboard ships. Sloths take 2 weeks to digest their food. Guinea pigs and rabbits can't sweat. The pet food company Ralston Purina recently introduced, from its subsidiary Purina Philippines, power chicken feed designed to help roosters build muscles for cockfighting, which is popular in many areas of the world. According to the Wall Street Journal, the cockfighting market is huge. The Philippines has 5 million roosters used for exactly that. Sharks and rays are the only animals known to man that don't get cancer. Scientists believe this has something to do with the fact that they don't have bones, but cartilage. The porpoise is second to man as the most intelligent animal on the planet. Young beavers stay with their parents for the first 2 years of their lives before going out on their own. Skunks can accurately spray their smelly fluid as far as 10 feet. Deer can't eat hay. Gopher snakes in Arizona are not poisonous, but when frightened they may hiss and shake their tails like rattlesnakes. On average, dogs have better eyesight than humans, although not as colorful. The duckbill platypus can store as many as 600 worms in the pouches of its cheeks. The lifespan of a squirrel is about 9 years. North American oysters do not make pearls of any value. Human birth control pills work on gorillas. Many sharks lay eggs, but hammerheads give birth to live babies that look like very small duplicates of their parents. Young hammerheads are usually born headfirst, with the tip of their hammer-shaped head folded backward to make them more streamlined for birth. Gorillas sleep as much as 14 hours per day. A biological reserve has been made for golden toads because they are so rare. There are more than 50 different kinds of kangaroos. Jellyfish like salt water. A rainy season often reduces the jellyfish population by putting more fresh water into normally salty waters where they live. The female lion does 90% of the hunting. The odds of seeing 3 albino deer at once are 1 in 79 billion, yet one man in Boulder Junction, Wisconsin, took a picture of 3 albino deer in the woods. A group of 12 or more cows is called a flink. Cats often rub up against people and furniture to lay their scent and mark their territory. They do it this way, as opposed to the way dogs do it, because they have scent glands in their faces. Cats sleep up to 18 hours a day, but never quite as deep as humans. Instead, they fall asleep quickly and wake up intermittently to check to see if their environment is still safe. Catnip, or Nepetacateria, is an herb with nepetalactone in it. Many think that when cats inhale nepetalactone, it affects hormones that arouse sexual feelings, or at least alter their brain functioning to make them feel high. Catnip was originally made, using nepetalactone as a natural bug repellent, but roaming cats would rip up the plants before they could be put to their intended task. The nematode Canorhabditis elegans ages the equivalent of 5 human years for every day they live, so they usually die after about 14 days. When stressed, though, the worm goes into a comatose state that can last for 2 or more months. The human equivalent would be to sleep for about 200 years. You can tell the sex of a horse by its teeth. Most males have 40, females have 36. Removed, duplicated. The 57 on Heinz ketchup bottle represents the varieties of pickle the company once had. Your stomach produces a new layer of mucus every 2 weeks, otherwise it will digest itself. The Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper. A raisin dropped in a glass of fresh champagne will bounce up and down continuously from the bottom of the glass to the top.